So, psychiatrists suck. So, I've been seeing this one psychiatrist for like a year and a half, and for the past I think almost a year, I've been having issues with her because it's kind of like she doesn't want to change her medication, she's not offering any therapy options, and it's kind of like she's like, oh, what are issues? She wants me to tell her about my issues, and then she kind of just shuts me down all the time, like, oh, I'm having trouble keeping myself on track with things. You need better self-discipline. Really? I didn't know that. How do I go about doing that? And she's just, you need blah, blah, blah. So I was like, you know what, I'm getting sick and tired of her, so I asked my family doctor for a referral to a new psychiatrist. Because I thought, hey, you know, she's just probably a shitty one. Even though I completely forgot about the child psychiatrist I saw when I was a teenager, who was really shitty too, worse than the one I have right now. And so I went to the appointment with him today. And, oh my god, this guy makes my current psychiatrist look like the best psychiatrist in the world. First of all, he's really, really, really out of touch and like behind the times, because you know, I've seen several different psychiatrists at different times, whether it be like, you know, the child psychiatrist and the one I'm seeing now, as well as I've been to urgent care at the Civic twice, as well as I've gone to counseling and therapy. And whenever they're asking about like what your relationship status is, they always ask, are you with anybody? Which is the proper way to ask, because you cannot assume a person's sexual orientation. So the guy asks, do you have a boyfriend? I'm like, well, I'm gay, but I'm single. And he didn't understand that at first. I'm like I'm homosexual. Like, I will never have a boyfriend, and I don't want one. And another thing is, he asked several different times during the session whether or not I've ever had sex with a man. So, and from one of those times, you know, the topic of the fact that I was raped came up, and so this happened like almost a year and a half ago on New Year's, and the person who raped me happened to be a transgendered woman. So I was trying to explain that to him, and he wasn't getting it. Like, he just wasn't. He's like, is it a man or a woman? And I'm like, okay, well, it was a woman because she was a transgender woman, but like physically down there, it was a man. And I was like, okay, and eventually it's like, she was born a man, like she was born into a male body, but she identifies as female. And she's like, oh, a transvestite. And I was like, this is 2014 and you are a psychiatrist. You literally used the term transvestite. And I was like, no. She's like, yes, she was transgender. And it was like, oh my god. And then instead of asking, like, you know, trying to ask about what my parents, most of the time they say, what do your parents do for a living? He just said, what does your father do for a living? And I'm like, what the fuck does he matter? I only see him maybe once a year. Like, he's never been around since I was 5, really. And so I was like, well, he's in the Air Force, but I almost never see him. And I had to tell him like multiple times that my parents split up when I was 5. And so the first time I said, he's like, sorry? And I'm like, my parents split up when I was 5. He's like, oh, your parents are still together? And I'm like, no, my parents split up when I was 5. And my mom didn't remarry until I was 17. Like, fuck's sakes. And I was like, but what my mom does, because that's actually relevant, because I actually see her regularly. And, oh, it was just like so fucking like old school. And, yeah. And he kind of like almost wasn't believing me when I was saying I was gay, because he said, when did you become gay? And I was like, do you mean when did I realize I was gay? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, And I said, well, it was, you know, a process. It didn't happen all at once. And he's like, well, how old are you when it happened? And I'm like, it's a process. Like, I first started realizing it, like, when I was 13, 14, but, like, you know, I was in denial because, you know, I didn't want to accept that part of myself. But when I really started to admit it and accept it was, like, 17, 18. And he seemed kind of confused with that, and I'm like, you don't, no, oh my god, you're so not, oh. And it was kind of, and the thing is that I have, like, I'm kind of, and I told him that I'm bipolar BPD. It's kind of not sure which one right now, because I've gotten some different diagnoses from different doctors, but BPD fits my symptoms a bit better. So he was asking me these questions, like, are you depressed? And I'm like, not today, and I've been okay most days, but he's like, no, are you depressed or not? And I'm like, well, I have my down days. Like, okay, so you're depressed. And I'm like, thing is that I go up and down, and he already knew that I'd been diagnosed with bipolar, but that might be an incorrect diagnosis for BPD, so, you know, that shit goes all over the place, like, you're up and down, and I'm trying to explain this to him, and he's like, basically, like, asking these hard questions, and, like, it's a yes or no answer when you can't, and I was like, okay, I'm never seeing you again, and now I'm stuck with my other one, who at least didn't do shit like that, but, yeah, fuck. And the fact that it takes, like, a year from the referral to actually seeing the psychiatrist, and the fact that there was only 2 psychiatrists I can see in Ottawa, and Ottawa's a huge city, like, fuck, like, it's just, I cannot believe the state of the mental health care, it's unbelievable, and I've been waiting for a referral to get into this dialectical behavioral therapy program to, you know, because, you know, medication can only take you so far, and the referral has to go through all these different people to get, and it's all a big mess, and, it's like, I can't work right now because I'm going to be starting the program soon, but it's been like that for a month. I've been waiting to start this stupid program, and I'm like, I'm running out of money, I'm already super in debt, and I have a bit of money left on my line of credit, but, like, only for maybe a month more, so, like, I gotta start the program now, but so that I'm not, like, you know, using my credit card to pay rent type thing, because I'm already super in debt on my credit card, too, because I'm not working, and I haven't been working for the whole school year, and it's just a big mess, and oh, in case you're, okay, now, the thing about the transvestite and the kind of the doctor being so behind the times, the reason why I find that really shocking is because I do live in Canada, and in Canada, the gay marriage is legal nationwide, so the fact he was kind of, like, you know, constantly asking if I've ever had sex with a man and assuming I was straight and all this other stuff, so there's that. And also, if you're a transgender person, the universal health care will pay for your hormones and your surgeries. And, well, yeah, the thing is, like, the person, after I said the thing about the transgender and everything else got clear, he's like, oh, did they have their surgery yet? And I'm like, well, no, they started on hormones, and he looked at me confused. And there's another misconception. Transgender people, they can't just be like, okay, I'm walking around dressed like a dude, acting like a dude, all the thing. I want to be a woman, have a surgery, and then I'm a woman. No. You have to be on hormone therapy for, like, 2 years before you can get your surgeries. Like, it's not instant. Misconceptions and stupid people, but, like, I could get that from, like, my coworkers at Kittytown who have worked in the same business for the past 40 years, don't have their full high school, and, like, don't even know how to fucking smartphone works. But from a psychiatrist who's supposed to be treating mental illness, and the amount of mental illness that is attributed to being transgender or being gay or whatever else is just, I don't get people. It bugs me when I don't know. Oh, psychiatrists suck.